Hello and welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsey and Krista. Welcome to your favorite show.
Welcome. So glad you're here. OGs, what's up? Glad to have you. Noobs, welcome. Welcome to Almost 30. You don't need to be 30 or almost 30 to listen. You can just be yourself and enjoy a show that was started when we were almost 30.
I met someone the other day. I think it was an Uber driver. I know you've had this experience where they're like, I'm going to listen to your show. He like subscribed right in front of me. And I was
those are my number one subscribers.
Yeah.
It's Uber.
And I'm always dying to know what they think.
I know. We need to follow up.
Yeah. Follow up without it being like, are they my new best text friend? But,
yes.
You know.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It'd be dangerous.
I gotta like cut it off.
You don't want too much. I've had an Uber driver's pitch to be on the show.
Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, even my personal trainer that I worked out with in New York, in LA for like 2 seconds, pitches once a week. He's like, when am I going to come on? I'm like, leave me alone, please.
Sometimes I get annoyed with the lack of awareness because if you don't know our show and then you pitch and it's like so not a topic that we would talk about, or it's just kind of far out beyond, it's just like not for our show.
100%.
I get pissed.
Hey, this needs to be reciprocal.
Yeah.
Are we a fit for you? Are you a fit for us?
Yes.
We don't like what? And then also, if I'm paying you for a service, part of that service is to not pitch me.
Yeah.
Part of that service is to focus on me, not what you can get out of our relationship as my trainer, but just to focus on my glutes.
I know.
And building a dump truck ass.
Yeah, truly.
That I'm trying to build.
How's it going?
It's actually been great.
I'm sure.
I've noticed a difference. It's, we're small gains, but it's actually been really fun. I've been lifting 3 times a week, and I'll do sprints maybe one day every 2 weeks, or I'll do something else that other day, yoga, whatever. But I love it.
I love lifting.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Feels so good.
Yeah.
It's like slow, intentional, hard.
Yes.
I don't know what it...
And you just don't get too tired.
Yeah.
I'm not too tired. I can go in and out. I can shower. Sometimes I can not shower.
Yep.
It's not strenuous. Like, it doesn't mess with my hunger hormones. Like, I feel like when I used to do Soul Cycle at 6 a.m. Starving. Because you just spike your cortisol. Then your blood sugar's all messed up. And it's just been nice to feel like I get a good workout in, but I still feel like I have steady energy levels. Not like I'm just blowing all my energy in a workout.
Yeah. And I feel like you're more connected to your body when you're lifting that. You can like kind of feel every muscle groove.
Yes.
Anywho.
Yes. And it's also where I meet men.
Yeah. Okay.
My gym is my spot. It's my favorite spot. All the guys at my gym thought I was foreign. It's all good.
Do you like quote dress up every time? Meaning like have like a really good outfit? Like what's the vibe?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say I have good outfit. I've just invested more in my gym outfits now because of that fact. I don't wear makeup ever, but I'll run a brush through my hair and I'll put on a good set.
Yeah.
That's my move.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's not trying too hard, but it's like,
it's like
watch me.
I'm here. And then sometimes when I have the spray tan pop, and that's when they really go crazy. Because they're like, where is this orange person? Where's this teddygram from?
Dude.
Where's this teddygram from?
I was watching something the other day and I was like, does this guy know that his spray tan is like absolutely poppin' orange?
That is a no
like
for
on
me.
TV. Wow.
You know what's a no for me at the gym? When men are on their phones the whole time at the gym, that is such a no for me.
Oh,
that is so unattractive to me. Get off your phone. Get your reps in.
You know, evolutionarily, stop. I think part of what I don't like about that too is like the position of the head. Okay.
Wow.
Your neck is down. You're looking at your phone. It's very like beta.
Yeah. Say no more.
There's nothing attractive about it. I think there's something evolutionarily that's going to happen. I don't know.
No, 100%. My thing too is what I'm finding really attractive is men with restraint.
Discipline, restraint.
Discipline and restraint.
Totally.
I know I have an hour for the gym. I'm going to be at the gym for this hour. I'm not going to be texting willy-nilly. I'm not going to be doing all these things. I'm like, if you can't control yourself and focus for an hour at the gym,
what the fuck?
How am I going to think you're going to focus on me for a 2-hour dinner?
Yeah.
Get your reps in and get out of the gym. Be present, be in your body and focus.
Yeah.
It's like also you're not taking your workout seriously.
100%.
I just like, it triggers me. I'm like, get a life.
Yep.
Stop.
Okay, today's episode, I'm actually really excited about this one because
I use their products every day.
Oh, Apothecary is amazing.
Amazing.
Really unique herbal blends.
Delicious.
That are really, really delicious. Also amazing for like the sober curious lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So they have a blend called Wine Down, I believe.
Yes, I have it in my suitcase.
It's one of their most popular. And amongst many other ones, you can add this to sparkling water. You can add it to water. You can add it to your little juice mocktail. Like, it's just, I think I had a moment where I was like, do these things really work? You know? And I told myself, I'm like, okay, we're going to incorporate this over the next month. And I have noticed such a difference, not only in just like my nervous system at night, especially. So I'll do the wind down. I just feel a bit more clear. Mm-hmm. I only have 1 cup of coffee a day, but I've replaced a few days of coffee with one of their herbals for energy. And it's just so different. It just hits freaking different.
Yeah.
And they're very powerful. They're like a very concentrated blend.
I love them. So it's holistic healing, basically using nature's most potent ingredients. This is herbal medicine. It has over 5,000 years of history with natural remedies that really target the root cause and not just the symptoms. I take my supplements, I do my thing, but having their tinctures is like a different experience. It's a flavor, it's a taste, it's a moment. And so whatever supplements I can take can keep my body really well, but having these on hand so that I'm feeling good all the time, not that I'm like getting sick and then trying to feel better. I keep in my car 2 to 3 of them so that when I'm going places, I can take it before. So I will do the rose tinted glasses, which is their mood and skin support for a little mood booster I'll have in my car before I'm going on a date or hanging out with friends. And then I also have their Take the Edge Off, which is a stress and tension relief. I will use that before bed. That one's by my bed. And the one that I really love for when I go out to eat is their Sugar Kick. So Sugar Kick has these really powerful Japanese-inspired botanicals that have been shown to mitigate blood sugar spikes. So it really helps maintain normal blood glucose levels. It supports digestion, it improves stress, fatigue, and longevity over time. So I will have this in my car to do when I take it before I go to a dinner, because you're supposed to take 1 dropper full 10 to 15 minutes before eating. Then I'll eat my veggies first, then my protein and my carbs, and continue my glucose goddess lifestyle. But it's just the best. It helps my digestion. It's been amazing. So I just love having these around. I'm excited to take them. I have them in my purse right now. Like, I love their products.
The best. What do you think is their top selling tincture?
I think there's a blue one that's like Feel the Burn. That blue one? So, okay, I have that one too, you guys. I forgot what the name is, but I use that one.
Blue Burn, and it's basically a metabolic health tincture. So metabolic health is very popular to talk about right now for good reason. Our metabolism just affects everything. So this supports healthy weight, improved endurance at the gym, improved energy. It's their top seller, made with really potent herbs. One of those is the Oregon grapefruit, which has an active compound berberine, which it actually recently gained recognition for its ability to maintain healthy blood glucose levels. So this is something that, you guys might know about just in terms of like glucose spikes and how that can create a bunch of havoc in the body, especially just accelerates aging. This is their top tincture. But I had such a good time with Shizu. She said she was an open book. So we really got into so much, not only the brand Apothecary, what inspired it. We talked about, very specific herbal remedies for different symptoms, different conditions. But we also talked about her dating life. She's single and dating. We talked about just this experience for her of returning to her roots, her family roots in Japan. She is building a house there, and just kind of what that means to her and just that journey. We talked about her prior life in corporate America. She worked at Goldman Sachs, and then went off on her entrepreneurial journey.
Which I think is I just love these type of stories for women in our community, because so many of them are in jobs that are unaligned. They want to do something in service. They want to do something in wellness. They want to do something they're passionate about. So to listen to a story from a woman like this can be so inspiring, can help provide clarity, especially for people that feel lost, that feel like they want to find their purpose, that feel like they want to do something with meaning. It's always good to hear stories from people like this.
In her first company that she started, she had a business partner, and she just talked about kind of the journey with that and just kind of recognizing what was working, what was not, and how she was going to do it differently with Apothecary. But we just had a blast. Her parents actually live in Vancouver, I believe now, and she's kind of working with them to build like a retreat on their land. Cool. So we kind of talked about that dream and what she's doing there, how it relates to Apothecary as well. So I think you guys are going to love this conversation. We really went everywhere, and she's just such a light. Like, she has so much energy for her dreams. You know, you can kind of feel that there's kind of this unlimited focus and pursuit, especially with this, because she just loves it so much. So I'm excited for you guys to try Apothecary.
Okay, so let's list the things that we like. Okay. So rose tinted glasses I keep in my car. I also have Blue Burn in my car. And then I have the Sugar Kick in my car that I do around mealtime. And then by my bed, I have the wind down and take the edge off. But these are, you guys, I love these. They taste good. They're so easy. They work right away. It's different than taking your supplements. Like, these are herbal remedies that support your health all year round.
Yep. Yeah, and these are great. As I said, like, if you're someone who just prefers a little mocktail, say during the week or whenever, to have these on hand, to bring these with you. Maybe you're at a restaurant, you order a club soda and you add some of the Apothecary tincture of your choice. Like, it's just a different way to vibe.
Yeah, there's one with bitters in it that I've brought to dinner. I brought it to San Vicente Bungalows last week, and we put it in our soda water, and it was like digestion supporting bitters. It was so bomb.
There's a skin support tincture. It's called the Honest Youth that I really, really love. And there's clinical research behind that too. They've done some studies. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys. Thank you to Shizu. We adore you. You can find Apothecary products at apothecary.co, and you can use our code almost 30 for a discount.
Ooh, you guys, let us know which one you get, especially for my sober curious girlies. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of our lives. Enjoy this one. Send it to a friend if you want to talk about herbs, you want to talk about finding purpose, dating, whatever it is. We're grateful for you. We have Morning Microdose, which is our Clips channel. And then you could find us on all socials, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, Almost 30 Podcast.
Yeah, baby. All right, we'll see you on the other side. Enjoy this one.
See you soon.
Okay, I'm so excited to be here in person with you.
Likewise, I've been such a fan of your podcast.
Thank you. That means the world. And I've been enjoying your products like nobody's business, which we'll get into later. Apothecary is just such a beautiful brand.
Thank you.
I think in a time and space where, we're kind of inundated with products, I feel like I, and probably Krista too, have become very attuned when products have like a very beautiful resonance to them, because so many don't. No offense, but so many don't.
They don't.
So I'm just really thankful, and I can imagine just the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this brand. And I'm excited to talk about it. But we were kind of kikiing before hopping on here, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, there are other things that I kind of want to get into with you, not only as a founder of a company, but just someone who's like, very self-reflective as you evolve as not only a founder but a person, in this space, and what it means to really like be in integrity and move about the world in that way. And you specifically mentioned, and I kind of want to start here, and then we'll navigate. But you were talking about just this idea of how productivity for you has become less of like the badge of like, I'm successful or I'm happy or, I'm a good person if I do the most.
Yeah.
And it's really shifting for you. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and what life has been like before this like recent revelation?
Yeah. And I think it's probably a reflection of me turning 35 recently, where I'm like, oh, okay, like here we are.
Yeah.
And they say you have like a spiritual age where it's like it's the first number you think about when you kind of look back and if someone says, how old are you? And I think of like 22 was like that answer. And that was when I started my career working at Goldman. And I think that age was also the time where, it's like go, 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 like build your resume, build your career, climb the ladder, make a lot of money, girl boss.
Yes, that was such a girl boss time.
It was such a girl boss time. And I think the girl boss era, I mean, it quote unquote has ended for a while, but I think that there's still this lingering, okay, so what is the middle ground between girl boss and leaning completely out and being passive? And then now with the wakes of like the election news and everything, I think that there's bigger conversations about like female identity. And I think for me personally, building this company, I had never imagined building the company to where it is today in terms of people. We're 60 people. We ship globally. We have an incredible list of investors. We had Shiseido just become an investor in the company, and like all things that like I never would have imagined possible in my lifetime. But now I feel like it's a shift in where I want to spend my energy and focus, because that's where your energy goes. And want to shift a little bit more into like community and family and just a shift. Yeah.
Do you feel like it's because you've reached a certain level of success and it's satisfying there and you kind of want to shift into other things? Or can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I think a lot of people feel this, but they don't necessarily feel clear about the why in order to make the next move.
Yeah. I don't know. I think in the world of entrepreneurship, success, quote unquote, is an exit or some sort of big like exit, and then you're fully done the business journey. But I actually would argue like, if a business is performing really well and say, it's profitable and the team's really happy and you're involved and you're leveraging your greatest strengths and you've hired just incredible people to manage the day-to-day, why would you sell it? And I think the definition of success has always been evolving. I've sold my first company and I was so lost after the first company. And I think that happens a lot to founders too, is you kind of lose that like reason for waking up after you sell your baby, quote unquote. So I don't think it was because of success. Maybe it's because I face planted many times in the last 2 years.
Can you talk about that or
yeah,
a moment?
I mean, I think like there's just been so many moments where I think of, where we were growing, we've doubled our business every year, which takes an incredible amount of grit and focus and sacrifice. And I've been single for like basically the last 5 years since running Apothecary. I've moved 7 times in the last 5 years. I recently just moved back to New York and kind of been like living out of 3 big bags for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is like no way to live.
Truly. I know there's probably some people that are like, minimalism, that sounds good.
Right.
But yeah, to not feel that, and let me know if you feel this way, like that groundedness in a place.
Absolutely.
Or like that sense of home, that like that root chakra,
Absolutely.
Stability.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can take its toll.
Absolutely. And but there are things that I have where I'm like, this is what home means to me, or this is how it should feel. They say, you can have like your laptop and work anywhere. But I'm like, I kind of just want to like buy a home, So buying my first home in Kyoto in Japan, of all places.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah. It's kind of like a spiritual escape. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Are your family's roots there?
Yeah, most of my family's in Japan. My parents are based in Vancouver. We have a farm in Vancouver where they live, and we grow herbs and vegetables and have bees and a meditation studio and dojo. My goal is to convert that into a retreat center. So we can do plant medicine and Japanese bathhouse. And that's like a 5-year goal plan.
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we there's nowhere like it, in BC at least.
Is this something that is a business for them, or is that just?
Yeah. Right now the farm is a business. Wow. Yeah. But we would, I'm in the process of like mapping out, like, it's 20 acres and one side is complete farmland. The other side it's a complete pile of grass.
Sure.
And we have to actually level it up because it floods when it rains. And then that's 2 years just to level up the field, literally level up the field. And then start to build on top of that from like construction. But it'll be very Japanese inspired and I would say like an onsen, which is like a Japanese bathhouse. Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. Farm to table, all of it.
And that slow process, I guess I'd love to kind of pull up on that concept of like, you said that's 5 years out.
Yeah.
And I think we're in, a time within our culture where immediate gratification is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I think for me, it stems from, just this life and world online where we're getting these really fast, instant hits of gratification when we post something, or we're getting so much information at a really fast rate. What's your relationship with time and process, whether it's creatively or professionally?
Yeah.
Because I struggle with this. I love the process of things, and I actually don't care as much about the end result, but that doesn't really work in our day and age. So
you process like creating the content?
Yes, I just love I love being creative, and like thinking about marketing it and making it successful or as many eyes on it as possible stresses me out.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I did my first TikTok 2 days ago.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Literally 2 days ago. And that was because
I haven't forayed yet.
It was a green screen of all things, which I thought was really fun. Easy to do. But
that's fun.
It was for our Alta launch. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm freaking out. I'm a millennial. Like, don't make me download TikTok. Like, I never even had TikTok.
Same, I know.
So I think to answer your question, but like, I'm actually like, I only go on Instagram during the day on my desktop. So that allows me to be very focused on like my like what I need to be doing during the day, not Instagram, unless there's like live stories going out or launches. But outside of that, social media is kind of like, I give myself like 2 hours, usually after hours, and it's kind of it. Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah. But otherwise time just kind of sucks you up, I think, with social.
Yeah. Do you feel like, do you find a sense of like peace and purpose when you have, say, a project like your parents' property and building that out? Like, it's outside of Apothecary right now, but maybe it'll be connected. I think finding purpose outside of work is so important. But can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I think So one thing I think about a lot is my mentor told me when I was in finance, he's like, you need to be thinking about your life in two ways, your eulogy virtues and your resume virtues. And he's like, you are very focused on your resume virtues, which is good. This is where you are in your stage of life. But at one point, you're going to feel a shift in your body or in your mind and your energy that it will be time to shift towards like your eulogy virtues, which is how do you want to be remembered when you die? And in the Japanese culture, at least, like there's shrines everywhere. We have shrines in our houses for people that have passed, and we give remembrance every morning, and we kind of play a little gong, and then we give fruit every morning. And it's this idea of like being really close to death so that it allows us to be very alive.
Wow.
And we never really forget that. So I think that eulogy virtue is sort of like something where I really, really think about the most in terms of how do I want to live my biggest and largest and most beautiful, I guess, like life output. And that can be in the form of work, can be in the form of community, can be in the form of another business. I don't know. Yeah. It just like comes quite naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful concept. And I feel like, overall we're like very afraid of death. I think in our culture, in the American culture,
we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it at all. And yeah, I think because since becoming a mom, I feel more close to death in the sense.
Fascinating.
In the sense, like, I just think about my own mortality more because I have now a child. And so, yeah, I think at times it's caused me a little bit of anxiety. And I think feeling that anxiety has shown me like, oh, wow, you're uncomfortable.
That's so, do you think about your mortality because of like one day, you know, like, you
like I'm
pass.
not going to be here.
Yeah.
I think just the worry of what if something happens or just taking my health even more seriously than I already do to make sure that I'm as, you know, vibrant in my well-being as possible for as long as possible. I think that health span is really important to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a trippy feeling. It's not always fun, to be honest, but it's also beautiful, you know? So like to that point of just being so close to death kind of brings you to this like ultimate presence.
It's an ironic thing, but it's like death is actually the only for sure thing that will happen in our lifetime. Everything else that we worry about is not for sure. So this is, I always think and tell my team too, like whenever we feel anxious, don't borrow trouble. Let's not borrow trouble from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Truly.
And those two words have always kind of resonated when I start to spiel and live in the future. Yeah.
Are there any other aspects of the Japanese culture that we can glean wisdom from in terms of things that maybe you still live by?
Yeah. I mean, I'm still a learner of the culture itself.
Sure.
And we recently filmed a documentary in Japan, kind of tying a lot of the different elements of nature. And the theme is on nurturing your own nature because we all have water, fire, earth, air inside of all of us. And how do we actually like use them to, again, like nurture our own nature and feel our best selves? So for me personally, like I look at like forest bathing, which is called shinrin-yoku, as like probably one of my favorite pastimes. Moving to New York has been really difficult for that. So I think I'm going to move to Brooklyn actually next year.
I'm in Brooklyn Heights and we have more trees.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is nice.
Just more trees, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's
I'm
really
a tree gal, not a water gal. But forest bathing is a huge one where you just allow, like you can literally take your shoes off and you walk in the forests and in the moss and you're covered in like the trees and the wisdom of ages and thousands of years. And the smell of the cedar is just like, you can't unforget that. So that's one modality. Zazen has been a huge impact on my life. And Zazen is an active form of meditation. And when I say active, it means like you have guided work that you're doing while you meditate versus just sitting and passively kind of doing breath work.
Okay.
So Zazen has been a huge part of my life. And I try to do at least like a 7-day Vipassana at least once a year, usually around Christmas to New Year's.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What in terms of the active part, is it writing or movement?
Yeah, it's not writing. It's more like there are prompts.
Got it.
Yeah, for like
reflection,
what you need, where you're at during the day while you're doing it, because it's usually in 8 hours as Zen. So usually at a midpoint around like the 3-hour mark, you'll get like a different sort of thought process or shift in energy.
How do you, can you describe that? Because I feel like there's, maybe there are a lot of people out there who would love to do even just an hour of meditation.
Yeah.
But a more extended feels a bit daunting. Describe the shifts you've experienced within those 8 hours and even just over time doing this more than once.
Yeah. So my first Vipassana was in 2022, I believe, like right after COVID. And it was like one of those moments where I'm like, I need to get out of like this rut. Like, COVID did, I think, like a 180 on so many people. And I did it in Everett, BC. Okay. And it was a 7-day Vipassana. So Vipassana is a no talking, silent meditation for 7 days. Usually if you start, you can do up to 10 days. And so the first day is really hard because you lock all your keys, your ID, your phone. You throw it all into a little box, into a locker, and you're given a set of clothes and a bed that you're sharing a room with somebody else.
Okay.
Because it's all, so this is a Dharma Vipassana. So if you go on, just Google Dharma Vipassana, you'll see it. And it's free. It's donation based. But because it's free and donation based, it's minimal.
Yeah.
But that's also all you need. You don't need anything. You're just sitting there for 10 days.
Wow.
And, but the first day is so hard because you're coming in with all the things from yesterday, which is probably a bad call, or maybe you had a fight with a significant other, or you didn't say goodbye to somebody before you were leaving for 10 days. So all these thoughts are going through your mind on that first day of unfinished business.
Right.
So you're living in the past. And then I think in the day 2, you start to untangle the past. So you're starting to do the work. And then physically, you start to feel your knees are really sore because you're in sitting. And you look around and you see, oh, wow, this person is clearly a second or third timer because they brought their own cushions. And so you can you start to really learn as you go. The third and fourth day, I would argue, are the most cathartic days. You just start to cry. At least for me, I just started to cry.
Yeah.
And that's because I think you're in the process of grief and letting go and just not fighting the fight anymore. And then you realize how tired you are. I'm sure you get that feeling.
Gosh, totally.
It's in silence.
And it's like the sneaky,
yes,
you don't realize how much you're fighting on a daily basis, or how much you don't express yourself, or how much you are holding resentment towards yourself or another. Like,
absolutely.
We do a really good job of like doing our best.
Yeah.
And I think doing our best sometimes masks the things that we really need to tend to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you realize like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
And it just comes at the most random time. Like sometimes it's shavasana and yoga and you're like, oh, I'm starting to cry.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah.
And I didn't even do a Vipassana. Like yes.
Yes.
It's because you're finally in like some sort of rest state. And you're able to, at least in my experience, like feel.
Yeah.
And be in your body.
Yeah. And it goes to your question earlier of like social media and quick fixes and adrenaline. Like I worry about this next generation because and I worry about myself too, but I think to some degree I'm born in a time where I've had a world of no phones.
Sure.
And I think you did too.
Yes, I did.
But this later generation is just born on them.
Yes.
And so it's a different life and relationship with our social media. But I do think rest and decoupling the nervous system and letting it deregulate and allowing ourselves some peace and quiet just opens up so many things. And so I think if someone is starting out with meditation, maybe the first thing is to just start with stretching and relaxation and peace and quiet. Because if you can't get comfortable with that, probably can't get comfortable with sitting for 8 hours a day.
I feel like people go from 0 to 100 with this stuff and they're wondering why they can't meditate.
Totally.
I love that recommendation. Just kind of taking the small steps to get there.
Yeah.
It's so funny that scene you described of putting your phone, your wallet, your keys, all the things
so visible
in the box. It's like, I immediately felt how much energy we put into those things, especially the phone. And so when it's far away from us, it's almost like when I like leave my child and I'm like, oh, that's like, this is a weird feeling, you know, because they're a part of you. And like our phones have become so a part of us.
Totally.
That when we are away from them, it is this like yearning feeling or just very uncomfortable feeling. Mine, I think over time, I'll put my phone in a drawer somewhere usually just to forget that it's there. And I forget pretty quickly now, which is nice.
That's amazing.
Like the yearning feeling isn't as strong as it used to be.
Yeah.
But I had to do that like time and time again. And I realized, oh my God, I feel so much better. I'm remembering things more quickly and clearly.
Yeah.
I'm more productive if that's on my agenda. I can connect with people. You know, it's just like so many benefits of just putting it somewhere out of sight,
out of mind. I think it's so true. There's an app called Brick. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's like a 3D printed little gray nugget. You just put on your fridge and it will only during the hours that you needed to let you touch certain apps. Otherwise, it's like paused.
Cool.
Everything is paused. And so it allows you to just like redefine like, you know, where you want your attention to go.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's really cool.
And you can kind of assign it or they assign it
for
you?
No, you assign it.
Okay.
Yeah, you assign it. You set the hours and then whenever you put it on the phone and put your phone on the brick on the fridge, it's in that mode. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And it's a cool way to just become more conscious of like, wow, I'm going for my phones.
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm obsessed with that actually.
Yeah.
I think I'll get that.
I'll send it to you.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Great.
That's awesome. Okay, I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about, because there are a lot of people out there who are in the corporate world, and I know that's where you're coming from earlier on in your career. Can you describe like your mental and physical state of being during that time? Because I know you've had a health journey. So take us back there.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2010 and I started my career working in Wall Street. I was at Goldman for about 2.5 years and I was on the trading floor there. It was my first and only job. And I have so many things to say about whether that was good or bad, that I've never really worked a normal job. I've also never had a manager. And I often go back to this idea of like startups and what the hardest thing to do, one of the hardest things to do is to hire for a role you've never worked in. And I always think about that feedback because how will I hire a CMO if I've never been a CEO? And so as a founder, I think I often think about, wow, like if I could look back at all my experiences or could have made any differences, I probably would have worked in corporate a little bit longer and played a little bit more of a different played more roles so that when I were to be in this position, I would know what to look for. Because I have made so many mistakes on hiring. And, but yeah, I think like working at Goldman and getting that finance experience, incredible. Like, I think we never would have been able to fundraise if I never had that Goldman experience or the network of investors and people that wanted to support, you know, kind of what we were building as well.
Sure.
So
yeah, my husband was there for a little bit and he always says like, it's really great to come from Goldman.
Yes.
You know, come from.
Yes. Yeah. We're
not there anymore.
Cliquey in that way too. We're like Goldman. Yeah.
Cool. And he's not there anymore and has his feels, but it's like, he was like, you know, it's a really great place to kind of learn absolutely the foundational pieces of being, you know, in a lot of different types of business.
Yeah. It was an incredible, like learning how to invest in a company, learning how to read financial statements. I often think like when I talk to investors, I can probably out-talk them in terms of investment and like just the language.
Sure.
You know, most investors have never also run a company before, nor have they actually, you know, venture capital investing is a lot of this. You know, you're betting on a tiny little business to eventually become a $1 billion business. It's mostly gut feel, not anything very rational.
Sure.
So I tend to think of like, how do we leverage those skills of investing in real big businesses at the time and start to build like a great company. Yeah.
And at the time, like do you feel like you were running yourself into the ground physically, mentally? Like,
Yeah. You know, in trading and back in 2010, like there were no real boundaries or work-life balance even at that point. So the still like get there first thing in the morning before everybody else does, leave after everyone else does. That has definitely existed. I don't think it was as bad as investment banking, but it was still pretty bad in trading. Right. So I'd be up at 4 a.m. every day, be on the trading floor by like 5.
Wow.
Yeah, and I lived in Tribeca, so I could just bike down to 200 West Street. Yeah. And but it was like super stressful because you just had everyone yelling at you. Everyone's yelling all the time. Like, why is everyone so mad?
Totally. And was it like male dominated?
Oh, like, yeah. It was all like white male, Princeton, Dartmouth, Stanford, Harvard. Yep.
Totally.
And I was like, I'm from UBC. Yeah. Where's that?
And you're so young.
Yeah.
You know, did you feel like you had to like pick your professional track early, or were you encouraged to like do whatever your heart desired?
I think, well, my parents were, you know, they were immigrants from Japan and they struggled. My dad was a farmer and failed and dropped out of college. My mom was a photographer. So we came from zero money, but they worked really, really hard. And I think for them to work really hard and put us into school, they wanted the best lives for us. And for me, it was like, okay, then I want to pursue business. And if I'm going to make a lot of money and do all that, then I want to go into finance. And if I'm going to go into finance, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to be at Goldman. And I think the power of manifesting is really true. Goldman does not recruit at the University of British Columbia in Canada. And so I decided to email somebody that I knew worked at Goldman Sachs on the trading floor in New York that was Canadian. And I was like, okay, I'm going to email this guy. His name was Ted Goldthorpe. And I emailed him. I was like, hi, Ted. Like, I'm going to be in New York. I would love to pitch you like an investment idea. I'm a student at University of British Columbia and like would love to just like buy you coffee for 10 minutes. And he's like, sure, let's do it. 2:00 like next like Monday.
Obsessed with that.
And I was like, oh shit, I have to book a flight. And that day I arrived, turned out to be an 8-hour interview. And I met everybody on the desk. It was no, I'm not joking. It was like one meeting with Ted turned into, hey, meet my other colleague. Okay. Wow. And then meet this person, meet this person, meet this person. And I ended up meeting the entire desk, which was like 8 people. And I remember just having one glass of water in a boardroom. And it was like 5:00 and
like,
at the
starving.
End. And I was like, I'm hungry. And I was like, I've talked about this freight car America stock now for 8 hours. And then they called me the next day to come back the next year. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the power of trusting that instinct, trusting the vision, and also not feeling like you have to do the correct steps to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
I think we can get so tripped up in, whether it's professionally or personally, we've seen it done a certain way.
Yeah.
And we think we have to go that way.
Totally.
That's so cool.
Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think everybody told me not to leave Goldman. Though.
Of course.
Yeah. They're like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
like become
crazy.
an associate, go to private equity. You're crazy. And, but I quit and I moved to Africa. So I lived in Mozambique for a year. Yeah. That's like,
I didn't know that part of your story.
My life is very tangentially weird.
Wow. What inspired you to move there?
I was always interested in like impact investing and kind of like sustainability in agriculture. And I climbed Kilimanjaro during one of my vacations at Goldman. I was like, I love this place. Like, I just love emerging markets. So I quit and hopped on a flight to Maputo and lived in Mozambique on a banana farm for about 9 months. Yeah.
Wow. Were you working on the banana farm?
I was volunteering.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got like $30 of per diem a day. Yeah. And But it was like a year of a nervous system reset.
Oh, I can only
imagine. It's like you had a Nokia phone back then. Remember those? Like the snake game? I love
that.
Those.
Love that.
Love it. Love it. And like the
My
Wi-Fi
kid's getting
was so
a Nokia.
fun. Oh yeah.
At 18.
A pager. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you learn there?
Oh, so much. Oh.
And you were alone.
I was alone.
But I'm sure you met a bunch of amazing
people. A lot of
people.
expats. Yeah. We I think expats tend to attract one another.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think I learned so much. It was inspiring for me to create my first company, that experience and watching so many of the entrepreneurs, which were mostly farmers on the ground.
And your first company, just for people to know?
It was a Drink, Drink, which is a cold pressed juice brand.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think of my time in Africa was a time of reflection and what I really wanted to do and kind of that shift in resume to eulogy virtues, I would say. Yeah. I'm an old soul. I think you're an old soul too.
Yeah, for sure. But you're definitely an old soul. Oh my goodness.
With many, many lives.
Yeah, many. I feel young in some ways and old.
Totally.
So
What's your
old in
spiritual
others.
age?
Oh, that's a great question. I have no idea. How do I find out?
Well, if I asked you, like, how old are you? Instead of that.
Oh, 27.
Okay. Oh, interesting. What happened at 27?
I don't know. I mean, I was definitely starting my Saturn return, but I feel it's funny because I feel like healthier now than I did then. But I think there was like just a point in my youthfulness that I feel like I still feel that. Kind of vague, but that's just the number that always comes to me. Like because I'm 37. And I'm like, I love getting older. I don't mind sharing my age and doing all the things, but yeah, I always feel younger than that.
No, I think
How
it's a
about you?
beautiful
What's your
thing.
spiritual age?
23. Yeah.
Cool.
Which was like when I first started the business. Yeah. The first one. But
wow.
I think it's usually like a big life change happens around then where you're just like,
I moved to LA. That was the move.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably a big one.
Yeah.
Moving countries, moving cities is like, I think a big one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay. So after your time in Mozambique, come back.
Yes. Went to DC.
Okay.
Yeah, to where? I lived in DC and I started Drink.
That's where you started. Okay, great.
So that was because I was working at the World Bank for 2 months and I did not last long there. I was like, how did I go back to finance in the most corporate government, kind of organization? I was grateful, but
did you just want like stability?
I think I just wanted a job to kind of come back to and come back to the US because I realized living in Africa I think sometimes when people leave and when you're surrounded by expats a lot, I think I started to ask myself, am I running away from something or am I running to something? And I realized at least my journey to Africa, I was probably running away from something.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, time to go home and start to build the first company. I had a co-founder that did not end well.
Oh, wow. What happened?
Yeah. We were best friends at Goldman and kept in touch for many, many years. We built Drink for the first 3 years or so together. And we were really different in terms of like where we managed on the businesses. And that worked really well. But at one point she was like, I want to go back to California and like get her MBA. And I was incredibly supportive of that. And so we ended up just like parting ways. But I think our board and our investors were not really happy with the choice of a co-founder leaving and owning the equity that she did. And it just got really difficult.
It's hard.
Yeah. Especially when you have investors involved.
Sure.
Yeah. And somebody has as much equity as they do.
Yeah.
So, and I think that building friendships, building a company with a good friend, as I'm sure you know with Krista, is like, there needs to be rules around that. And there needs to also be some sort of guidelines. Like we never started that company thinking that it would ever be worth anything.
Right.
So that naivety is like beautiful in many ways because then it just makes you take the risk. But once you start, there's so many, it's like worse than a divorce.
Wow.
Yeah. I've helped so many founders now untangle founder breakups.
Yeah. Krista and I talk about that concept of like, we have a lot of people who come to us and say, oh, we want to start a pod or a company with our best friend or with my best friend. And we're supportive and also be cautious, think about this.
Absolutely.
Because we've had to do so much work together. We've had many coaches, therapists, et cetera, to hold our hand through some of our hardest moments together. And, we have, both of us are old souls and we've lived many lives together. So there's kind of that karmic connection as well. But it's not for the faint of heart.
It is not.
Because there are some decisions that need to be made that are more focused on the business than your relationship. And it can get super, super complicated.
Especially when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
More so in everything.
Of course.
Like everything.
With anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like we never want to talk about the bad stuff.
Yeah. The highs and the lows of being an entrepreneur and let alone, being an entrepreneur with your best friend are so real. And how have you been able to find kind of a neutral ground now, if you found one? Because we've also just experienced so much of that where it's like, catch us on a day where things are going amazing. And we're like, oh yeah. And then on the next day, we're like, burn it all down. We're done. We're done.
I did not start this company with a co-founder this time.
Yeah.
I think I was like, I'm never going to do that again. I mean, but then I'm like, but that's like trauma right there.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to say never. But with this one, I was like, I have a very clear vision. It's somewhat of an adjacent product to my first company. I was able to raise money alone. I can hire for incredible people around me. Because one of the biggest pieces of feedback I got with the first company when I had the co-founder was nobody knew who was the boss. Or nobody really knew when one person said X, what the other person would say. And I hated that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, but she said this. What do you think? And then I have to go to her. And then there's like a separate conversation that always needs to be had. I'm like, I don't really want to run my ideas by somebody else. Kind of bossy like that. Yeah.
When's your birthday?
November 16th. I'm a Scorpio, of course. Yeah.
Just the other day.
Just the other day.
Amazing.
Yeah. But Scorpio energy is real.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Totally. I'm a Virgo.
Virgo.
So yeah. I feel you though.
Yeah.
And Krista has a lot of Virgo too. And our almost 30 is a triple Virgo.
Oh, wow.
So it's a whole vibe.
Virgo
but yeah,
vibe.
I feel you. And just having that autonomy to just make a decision, even if it's risky, and be like, okay.
Yeah. And I think you can have faith in yourself.
Exactly.
Just like have confidence that you will be able to figure it out.
Yes.
If you truly believe you need a co-founder, then obviously look for somebody that has different skill sets or can complement. But don't bring in someone just because you need a crutch or because you need someone emotional to rely on.
Sure.
That's like really dangerous.
Sure.
And I think that there's naturally one day going to be a shift between a founder towards a CEO as well. And I think that shift is also not that natural for most founders.
Does that happen a lot? Founder to CEO?
I think so. Yeah. I think so when I look at my journey, Drink was a quarter of the size that Apothecary is today. And I spent 9 years building Drink. And I spent 4 years building Apothecary. So I think like trajectory and scale, Apothecary is just at a much larger size.
Right.
But what size means is like you have teams and hierarchies and processes and people and board meetings and corporate governance and investor meetings and investor updates. And it's not actually that fun.
Yeah.
It gets very not creative anymore. And I think most founders like to tap out at that stage, because you're not the 0 to 10 anymore. You're at like the 50 to 100 million grind, which is often a grind because you're dealing with like regulatory, you're dealing with investor dynamics and fundraising again and again, and then people quitting and then people hiring. And so it's that transition from founder to CEO, because I think you have to take your founder hat off.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah. And we're co-CEOs, we're founders, but obviously on a much smaller scale, have a smaller team, but yeah, I think we both have a desire, I'll speak for myself, to not be in the weeds so much.
Yeah. Agreed.
To just be like the visionary and
absolutely.
And we do have an incredible team. So it's partly on us, to kind of pull ourselves out of the weeds. I think it's that need for control.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah. And just the ever-changing landscape of podcasting in particular. I don't know how you feel in, the space that you're in, but it's saturated.
Yeah.
There's just some like agencies that come between us and the brands, and then it just becomes less personal. And then there's, just the keeping people's attention,
absolutely.
All of that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
100% agree. I think in consumer or in like supplements, there is definitely a lot of competition, but I think the real ones start to stand out because most of the small ones die.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that over the last 2 years because funding started to really dry up and interest rates were so high. And I think like the real brands continue to like kind of like just live and survive on. And small ones kind of just disappeared all of a sudden.
Yes.
We had so many copycats over COVID.
Oh, I can only imagine.
People that literally copy your brand. Like the label, the sticker, the names. And Like, wow, the audacity.
Do you have someone like going out to kind of like pluck those? Like
we do. We have our lawyer and like
those?
sends like cease and desist letters and stuff. But like even that's like energy.
I know.
It's
so
just
annoying.
like it's like not part of what I want to be doing.
Of course.
Yeah. But
of course.
Again, part of the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of what happens when you are successful and people do love their brand. It's like people, want a piece of that. Yeah, we feel that. Let's shift. I would love to talk about the products in particular. I would love to talk about just the power of herbs as medicine.
Yeah.
And I also want to talk about how fun it is to not drink as much alcohol anymore and replace it.
Yes.
The wind down is amazing.
Well, it's my favorite. We just did a clinical study on that too.
No way.
Yeah. So this is a big milestone from like a herbal medicine and apothecary milestone because, for so long, I mean, herbs are, 5,000 years and more, from Ayurveda to TCM to Japanese Kampo medicine. It's actually the first documented form of medicine is Ayurvedic medicine. But the traditional healthcare and what we know today in the US is a lot of that has been actually inspired by traditional herbal medicine as well. Like Advil, for example, comes from like, if you look at the very basic root of that compound, it's from a plant. It's inspired by a plant, but then it's iterated into synthetic compounds. So it works quicker and faster. But herbs are incredibly powerful. And if anything, it gets to the root cause of illness versus just trying to mask or treat the symptom. And so what we do at Apothecary is really aiming to get to the root cause of our stress in particular and how stress shows up in our body. And for some people, stress shows up with libido, stress shows up with high cortisol, stress shows up with lack of sleep. Stress can show up with low metabolism. So that's kind of why we have a variety of different products that focus on, again, like a different need for how stress shows up in your body. But Wind Down is one of our hero SKUs. It's like a non-alcohol alternative. I was inspired by that from going on a date where I was like, I am so tired of drinking this glass of red wine that I don't really want to drink, but I feel like I need to bring something.
Yeah. And then you feel off. Like you just, and it causes, I still have a drink every once in a while, but I've drastically reduced how much I drink. And I just realized how much anxiety drinking was causing me.
Totally.
So especially when I was dating, I was, I would have a few drinks on a date. And then the next day I'm like, why didn't he text me? What's going on? Was I horrible?
I was going to ask, was anxiety the after or during? Anxiety's after.
Oh no, during. I'm Lucy Lindsey. I'm like, this is amazing.
Lindsey. I love Lucy Lindsey.
I'm like, this is fun. You're hilarious.
You're so
I actually think I love you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, can we
define the relationship now? Yeah. Oh, that's such a fascinating
That was like in my 20s
point.
for sure. Like just the alcohol would help me. I'd look at them and be like, wow, maybe I do like you.
Fascinating. So it's after the fact.
So, and then the next morning I'd be like, what the heck? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, I feel like the alternatives are what is in it to kind of give that feel good.
Yeah. So with Wind Down in particular, it's going to be a more sedative herbal base. So all of our formulas in general are mostly going to be like powerful herbs, but we go through a very special double extraction process, unlike all other tinctures, because most tinctures have cane sugar or alcohol as the distilling base. So if you take a dropper, like CBD, for example, it's oil based. Not everyone wants to take like an oil product, but other tinctures, like if you find them in amber bottles or blue bottles and you taste it and it has alcohol, it's because it's distilled in alcohol. Or if it's really, really sweet, it's distilled in cane sugar. But we go through a double extraction. So we distill the herbs, we extract sort of the herbal compounds out of it in alcohol, and then we evaporate the alcohol out. That's the second stage. And then we preserve it in glycerin, which is a low glycemic preservative that allows the tincture to live on for 3 years. So my personal favorite during the day is like Take the Edge Off, which has like nervine-based herbs. And it allows for like all day stress relief. But wind down in particular is a sedative herbal base. So it actually makes you fall asleep and allows you to stay asleep.
Which is nice.
Yeah, which is wonderful. But I always encourage people when they're first starting out to take the tinctures directly on their tongues because mocktails are fun. But, if you put the tinctures into like water, you're just not going to taste any of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And with herbs, like, is there too much that you can do? Like,
yes. So there is a diminishing return scale at some point. So we always suggest to people take 1 full serving, which is 3 full droppers, once to 3 times a day. And they can vary based on what you take. So if in the morning you want to take like Mind Over Matter, which is it's a powder formula, but you can take that with coffee, for example. And then you can take something midday for like a little mood boost, and then one at nighttime for like a sleep support.
Sure.
That's usually what we would recommend. But we know some people probably take and combine the different tinctures. So they might do 2 full droppers of wind down, 1 full dropper of take the edge off. But what's really fun is just like people can be a little bit like their own mixologist with this. Like we wanted to make wellness less stuck up and less like not approachable. We just want it to be fun and colorful.
It is so fun. I know the brand is, I feel like even the word apothecary, having your own little apothecary in your home is one of my favorite things.
I love
because I feel like it is really, it kind of brings me back to like a very domestic, grounded moment where I can open my cupboard and just kind of create a little concoction that intuitively I feel like I'm needing right now.
Yeah.
So I and it's more than just the concoction. It's like the act of doing that, I think, is bringing us back to what we know we really need physically, mentally, etc. And then also being more connected to like what we put in our bodies rather than like just mindlessly eating or drinking or numbing out or escaping via those things. So I think it's just been a really beautiful like ritual too.
Yeah. A moment of you and quiet, calm, again, peace.
Absolutely.
Calmness, maybe cry a little bit when you're doing your apothecary.
Yeah, truly. What's the most popular?
And now it's Blueburn.
Okay, so I heard that. I was like, dang, okay. Tell me about Blueburn.
Blueburn is like, we never marketed this, but people like to call it this. It's a natural Ozempic. But that's, again, like why we don't call it that is because people are still learning about Ozempic. We're still all learning about Ozempic. But we like to call it, it's a metabolism and weight support tincture, but mostly metabolism and cortisol support because cortisol impacts our metabolism.
Sure.
And if it's not regulated, then our metabolism will slow. And most women nowadays in their 30s are having premenopause.
Why is that?
We're getting more stressed out.
Yeah.
It's honestly stress. It's all impacting like our adrenals, nervous system, and cortisol levels. And so I think like our hormonal, that's why like women's health and hormones are all of the rage, especially this year. I have never seen it happen this year.
Oh yeah. It's been over the last few years, we've talked a lot about hormones, mainly like going off the pill.
Yes.
And that's one of our most talked about topics.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful people are talking about it, getting their hormones tested, understanding more what's affecting their hormones.
Yep.
Because, whether it's infertility rates or people don't have regular periods or, the body is speaking.
Absolutely. One of our most popular blog posts was coming off of the birth control.
No way.
Yeah. It was coming off of birth control and using herbs to support my hormones.
Wow.
And
what was your experience with birth control?
I never took birth control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was always just using protection.
That's awesome.
I never took it.
Isn't it interesting? Yeah. Do you think it's like a cultural thing, whether you were in Canada or elsewhere, like where it's just not a thing where because I think I was prescribed it because for my skin, I definitely started having sex with my high school boyfriend.
Yeah.
But like it was like that rather than telling me, hey, so if you go on this.
That's so interesting. Like they'll give you birth control for your skin.
Isn't that hilarious?
It's hilarious. And it's like,
disturbing.
It's so bad.
It's disturbing.
It's answer
Yeah.
So to answer your question though, yes, I absolutely think both Canada and Japan honestly anywhere but the US.
Yeah.
Things are just not prescribed as easily as they are here. And birth control is probably one of the biggest ones that, pharmaceuticals make money on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am so glad. And that's one of the good things about social media is that the educational virality of things like hormonal and birth control and better periods and cycle balancing, and that conversation has become much wider.
Yeah. And I do want to say there are a lot of different conditions that birth control can help. And we've heard from a lot of you out there who have, benefited your symptoms from taking it. So just noting that. But I think my whole thing is having like being informed about the risks.
Yeah. Especially in high school.
Oh my God, of course. What do you mean?
I mean, it's like you don't have as much information or life experience even at that point.
I thought it was cool.
I mean, yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm a woman now.
Right.
I'm cool. Like, this is what like women do.
Right.
I'm an adult.
Right. And I have to take this at every X period of time on the dot. Like,
which I did not. I was so bad at it. So bad. But also the laxness I had around that was probably disturbing. I just pop like 2 or 3 if I missed a couple days.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I hope that's amazing.
But I had no
I missed 3 days. 3 now.
No connection to whether that was harming.
Right.
I did always feel weird taking a pill every day.
Yes.
Like I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
So I think that was my body or intuition saying like, hey, I think there's something off here.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people are rethinking.
Agreed. And to the pill point, I think that's also like most supplements do a lot of capsules and pills. We will never do capsules and pills. I always thought I was dying a little by taking a pill.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Like I'm just kind of like,
that's
blip,
right.
Blip. Like, what is in here? I don't know. I don't taste it. I'm just going to pop it into my mouth.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, oh, I missed 3 days. I'll just pop 3 more. It's like,
wow.
What's really inside? So that's part of with tinctures. Like, I want you to taste it all. Put it all over your tongue and just taste it.
Love that.
And know that it's pure and that you get to try everything and have fun with it. Versus again, like in supplements, most things are in capsules and pills, but it just feels like
and you just kind of trust what's in there, I guess. Yeah.
I guess exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything that we need to be aware of, like when sourcing herbs? Like, I know you guys are doing your due diligence, but if we are kind of working with herbs, is there anything that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think it took us 12 months before the business launched to find the right suppliers, and honestly, that is like a constant shift and change and negotiation. We source from 22 countries worldwide.
Whoa.
Our supply chain is insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we work with distributors to bring in all of them. And our we have 4 co-packers around the world. So one in Germany, one in Montana, one in Long Island, and then one in Texas.
Whoa.
And so they order these ingredients now for us. But in the beginning, when we were much smaller and we couldn't afford that, we would order those different ingredients and then like shimmy it around the country to the different co-packers and stuff. But so luckily things can happen with scale. But I do think like ingredient sourcing it's so important, and finding suppliers that A, can keep up with your demand, but B, like they all have certificate of analyses. Like that's really important. So I think when you are going into your herbal diligence or sourcing, always ask for a COA or certificate of analysis.
Okay.
And that's usually like a third-party tested audit of that ingredient or that herb to show like lead content, if any, just like quality of iron, purity, because some things like coconut powder, for example, can have maltodextrin inside. And so that's just because it like helps to clump it. But there are also all these additives in many different ingredients. So just do your research and just know like what is pure and what is not.
Should it be organic or it doesn't have to be?
Yeah, we're 100% organic.
Okay.
No question here. When we first started, I can't say that we were all 100% organic.
Yeah.
But now we are. Yeah.
Cool. That must have been hard to kind of.
Yeah. So we are limited sometimes in like which ingredients we can use. So we have an exciting partnership coming out in May with Oishi Berry, which is like that strawberry kind of brand.
Okay.
It's like an omakase strawberry, but allows us to test these partnerships in a very small way because we can't get that ingredient necessarily for like, evergreen launch that can stay forever. Yeah.
How cool. Okay. let's do a little quick fire of herbs before we wrap up.
Great.
This is not a test. Relaxation, stress management. You mentioned wind down. What are like the specific herbs that we can kind of focus on?
I mean, I love a good sleepy herb. So I would probably go with like rhodiola for me personally. That makes me really kind of zen out.
Yeah.
I love a good ashwagandha, but sometimes ashwagandha, if I take it with a different herb, will actually be an upper.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like it kind of depends. So what adaptogens basically help your body adapt. So if your energy and like your hormonal and your adrenals are already up, then you need downers. But if your natural body is already down, you need an upper to kind of get you to that homeostasis. Sure. And so stress doesn't mean always down. It just is, it's homeostasis and it's a feeling of calm. Because you don't want to be so down that like you need to then crash to get back up. So you just want to be in this like steady middle ground of steady stress and steady like presence. So for me, rhodiola usually does the trick for me. Ashwagandha most times does the trick for me. And then motherwort is actually another herb. It's like a plant, but it helps with sedative sleep. So it just kind of like helps me knocks me out, basically.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
What about for energy?
Maca.
Okay.
I love a good maca. Have you had maca?
I've had maca, yeah.
It's my favorite.
Love it.
Yeah, it's I just like the taste of it.
Yeah.
I add it into coffee and it's
like a little nutty.
Great. Yes. Yeah. It's a root, but it tastes nutty for sure. And it has this kind of creamy factor. Also love lion's mane. Yeah.
For focus.
Like a mushroom for focus.
Love that. For I don't have this written down, but like pleasure, getting you in your body, like just kind of feel good.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like a
libido.
Caffeine.
Yeah. So for me, that's probably anything that like sparks feminine energy. And so I actually don't know if I would take something ingestible for that. For me, I think it goes to scent. And mainly because the fastest way to knock your body and system into the present moment is through scent.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I learned that through Zazen, where if you're finding like your brain is shifting elsewhere, you just want to smell something. So it gets you totally back to your present moment.
Wow.
And so I think with feminine energy, I would go to like rose or florals and something like really heart opening and capacity opening. Yeah. Something floral.
Love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of feminine energy, I would love to round out with that. I feel like we briefly touched on this before we hopped on, but what does it feel like for you what does it look like and feel like to just be more in your feminine?
Yeah.
I can imagine as a founder and someone who's just been in building mode for a really long time, that being in the masculine potentially comes more naturally, or that's just where you've been. I really relate to that.
Yeah.
And I also relate to kind of just leaning more into my feminine in recent years. What does that look and feel like to you? And do you feel like there's a future in which like we can be that, embody that more often?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah,
I certainly hope so. And I think it's up to us to write those rules. And it's kind of why I wanted to buy the place in Japan, is because I think there's such a beautiful thing about being anonymous and rewriting your story.
Completely.
And telling your story in your own words, not what the press has in Google, not what someone preconditions in their brain. Like just the ability to share who you are, like who's Lindsey, and you just meet someone at a restaurant, like, to start from square one. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is like redefining how I would like to describe who I am in like a totally anonymous setting. But I am so proud of all the things that I've done and built. I just think it's also a different stage of how I want to manifest this next chapter of 35 plus and building and attracting kind of what I need in this next stage. Hopefully get a dog, be closer to trees, and maybe find a good guy. We'll see. Or he'll be lucky to find a good girl.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. How's dating been?
It's been good. I've got to say, dating in New York is far better than dating in LA.
Oh, I completely agree.
I mean, like I
completely agree.
Dating in LA was horrible. Like,
tell me more.
I lived in Venice.
The girls are nodding.
Okay, yeah.
We lived in Venice too, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. So Venice is like a Peter Pan, like just a bunch of, everyone's good looking. Everyone's
too
super friendly, too good looking.
Annoying.
But like no one's going to go to Silver Lake for a date from Venice.
Oh, you lived in Silver Lake?
No, I lived in Venice. But like if I matched someone in like.
Oh, I see.
Like,
yep.
Yeah, like in Silver Lake or Echo Park, not happening.
Yeah, not happening.
Not happening.
That's literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah. So like you're limited to like, okay, Mar Vista, Santa Monica, Brentwood. And I'm like, I'm not also that into like Hollywood.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So like moving back to New York has been really great in that respect.
There are pros and cons to both. But
Totally.
I think for me, like I'm from the East Coast, so I do like that East Coast energy.
Yeah.
I like the New York
hustle.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot too
Totally.
I mean, my husband is in that, you know, and it's like I'm more out of it now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to kind of like where he dips into my world, he's like, ooh, this feels good. And I'm like, amazing. Sometimes I'll dip into his world and I'm like, that's nice for 5 minutes, but I'll be over here.
I'm often out.
But yeah, I totally, to go back to dating, I very much remember that feeling in LA. You know what I felt? Tell me if you felt this, where I felt like the guys in LA did not see me. Like literally it felt like they were like looking through me. And this is a generalization. I had a few really amazing people that I met, but
that's so interesting.
It's almost like they were like, wherever they were looking, it was kind of like they were just thinking and looking at themselves.
Oh my gosh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's crazy. So I dated in LA for about 2 years. I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
I dated for about 1.5 to 2 years.
Okay.
And then I just stopped.
Okay.
Because I was so turned off.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Like I feel like most people in LA though, they're kind of just like into themselves.
Yeah, self-obsessed for sure. Generalization.
Yes. Yeah. And I met some incredible friends there. But I do think New York is probably a little bit more of my energy.
Yeah.
Just completely. A different, but people here always have options. And I just want someone that's like, hell yeah or hell no.
Completely.
Like I don't want a maybe. A maybe is a no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very interesting thing where it's like, you know, you could meet someone incredible.
Yeah.
But then there's a part of your brain that goes, yeah, but I could also maybe meet someone even better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's always that thing. I had that. I definitely had that.
Yeah. What made you want to quote unquote settle down?
You know, I was single for so long. Everyone knows that story. And I think I just got to the point where I was so good with me.
Yeah.
You know, like I would go on solo trips all the time. I just had done so much therapy. I was just like, if I meet no one, I am good. Yeah. You kind of get to that point of like kind of grieving that where it's like, maybe I won't meet anyone or
totally.
And then when I reconnected with my now husband, I was so clear.
Yeah.
Which was so weird.
On the first date, or was it just a reconnecting and it wasn't even a date?
It was the reconnection.
Okay.
Call it a date, sort of, but
okay.
I wouldn't call it a date because I thought he had a girlfriend.
Okay.
He didn't know my status.
Yeah.
But I was so clear. When I sat down across from him, I was like, whoa, this is so crazy.
Wow.
And like all the bullshit that I had in the past of like, well, like, no, he can't be my husband, like because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I think it was the connection with myself.
So interesting.
First. Yeah. That really helped clear the static.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. And I also think it's like I think learning how to date better and learning how to date more thoughtfully moving forward. Like, do I like this person?
Yes.
There's always this like back of my head, does he like me?
Yeah, I hope he likes me. Will he text? Yeah.
Like, no. Do I like him?
Yes.
And I have so many friends. A lot of my friends are older, but like the mid 40s even. And she's dating like 20-year-olds. And she's like, the young guys are actually much more respectful.
Oh,
and they like opt in to date older women because they're like old souls at heart.
Sure.
And but they really respect versus like the generation that like might be my generation. They have more traditional kind of like views on what men and women, quote unquote, should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
completely.
Fascinating world.
Fascinating. And I think that's a great place to be in where it's like, this is fascinating.
Yes, exactly.
I'm
just
curious
be in
about
awe.
this. Be in
just
awe.
be in awe. Like, just being like, wow, we get to live in this world and do the thing, build what we're doing, date how we want, swipe what we want. Yeah.
And knowing that it truly is, I believe, like the divine timing of everything is very, very real. And I know that's really annoying to hear.
Yeah.
It's been annoying for me to hear over the years, but every time
it does.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Well, your story's inspiring for me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a long, long road, but you know, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it in the end. Well, this has been fun.
Thank you.
I love having you in
this.
person.
Oh my God. I've been listening to the podcast for the last 7 years
oh
or
my
something.
Gosh.
Like for a long time.
Oh, that means
I think I was
much.
like during my first company and everything. She was so thoughtful, spiritual, but not overly like spiritual. Business, but not business. And it's like the podcast where I don't want to be on like business mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is the best.
Thank you.
Apothecary is incredible. I'm going to link all of my favorites down below. So wherever you're listening to this will be in the show notes. And we have a discount as well. So enjoy that. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you so much, Shizu. We appreciate you being here. And again, you can get a discount at apothecary.co. That's Apothecary with a K, and use our discount almost 30.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. We love you so much. Bye.
Bye.